is attorney, Second Amendment advocate, social media star, and my old buddy from NRA TV. Colion Noir is with us. Colion, it's great to see you, old friend.
Good to see you too, Grant. It's been some time.
So, Colion, what do you make of the media coverage following the Boulder shootings and, of course, the massage parlor shootings as well?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it's at this point, it's par for the course. This is what they do. It's textbook. They wait for a tragedy, and then they exploit the tragedy to push whatever political agenda that they have. They've been doing this for decades now. So it's nothing new. The only difference now is they have to push it a lot harder, and they have to sensationalize things even more because we live in a different time now. Back in 1994, where Joe Biden touts how he was able to get this passed and do all that stuff, things aren't the same anymore. You have a more educated population of people. You have a lot of people now who know more on the issue than the vast majority of those people who are pushing these policies. So what's happening now is they're ratcheting it up in order to get people on board as much as possible. But in the process of doing that, they're making themselves look like idiots because they really don't know what they're talking about, and they're exposing that. And so they make stupid analogies like it's easier to vote than it's easier to buy a gun than it is to vote. Which that's inherently not true. But then even if it was true, I think it would make sense that I'd have easier access to something that can protect my life over something that doesn't immediately protect my life. If I wanted to protect my family, of course I want easy access to a firearm because it's the best thing possible for me to do that. But they don't want to acknowledge that because go ahead, sorry.
Well, so one of the things that we like to do is debunk their lies. You were talking about Joy Reid. I've got another soundbite from her. Let me roll this, and then I'm going to let it go back to you here.
These are not the Armalite, the Armalite rifle, the AR-15 is not what you use in your house to protect your house. Let's just be clear. If anybody knows anything about guns, that's not what they're really for. But Vice President Harris called them weapons of war. We understand they're not M16s, but what other purpose is there for an AR-15 other than killing people?
Colion, you and I have been around guns a long time. I've got an AR-15 in my house for just that reason, to protect it. What do you say to her there?
I'm surrounded by them literally right now. I literally specifically use AR-15s for home defense. It's insane that she can actually say that with a straight face. Because if a handgun can be utilized for self-defense, of course an AR-15 can be used for self-defense because they're by and large the same thing. They're both semi-automatic weapons. And so one has a more different purpose from the standpoint of functionality and use, from the standpoint of, yes, it allows me to be more accurate with the AR-15 when it comes to hunting, self-defense, competition shooting, and a myriad of other reasons why people decide to use an AR-15. The same way I can use a handgun for hunting, self-defense, competition shooting, and a myriad of other reasons why people use handguns. So this notion that somehow specifically the AR-15 is the only weapon that's designated for war or killing a bunch of people is lunacy. Yeah. But yet we have handguns, which account for almost nearly 80% of the gun deaths in this country. But for somehow the handgun, they don't consider that the thing that's used for only killing. But they'll get to that at some point down the line. They have to deal with the AR-15s first, and then inevitably get to the handguns.
Well, I'm sure she lives in her Park Avenue apartment. You and I both live in Texas, and I can tell you, hogs are a problem, and most of us use AR-15s to go hog hunting in Texas. And I know they'll laugh at us in New York and LA and Chicago about doing things like that, but that's a way of life in much of the country. Lastly for you, Colion, when I look at what's going on around the country, you and I have talked about this, Chicago, Detroit, LA, we're seeing violence increase in New York. They're not flying the flags at half-staff for the so many victims there. Every day people are being killed. What do you say about that?
I mean, why would they do that? That would essentially be them shining a light on their political inadequacies. They've been leading these communities for decades now, and the communities have been in a constant state of decay for decades. So of course they're not going to acknowledge or shine a light on the notion that the crime rate in places like Southside Chicago are continuing to rise. Because in order to do that, they would have to acknowledge that they have failed these communities. They have failed the people in these communities, and they would also have to acknowledge that it isn't a gun issue. because we have guns all across this country. We have 400 million guns in this country. There are guns everywhere, yet we somehow have some hyper-focused, concentrated area of violence. That should tell you something. That tells you it's a socioeconomic issue that's not being dealt with, but they keep utilizing a gun as a scapegoat to not have to deal with that. Because as long as these people remain in these conditions, they have to depend on the same leadership that has continued to fail them for decades. But they don't want to acknowledge that, which is why they don't like to shine a light on it.
Well, when you talk about it not being a gun problem, it's clearly a people problem, and the socioeconomic issues you bring up, all caused, in my personal opinion, by Democratic policies played out there. Colion, Noir, always great having you on. It's been too long, my man. Thank you.
I know.
I can't wait to see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Grant.
Buddy. You got it.
Today, there was another growing gun confiscation request in all 50 of our states requesting to confiscate our AR-15s. We want the government to know what would happen if they tyrannically passed their so-called assault weapons ban. I will not comply is a symbolization of defiance against politicians, anti-gunners, and any other tyrannical entity looking to deprive you or your Second Amendment right as put forth in the Constitution of the United States. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm is going to do a phenomenal job of suppressing this message. So please share this video with as many people as you can so we can beat the algorithm and get our two-way message out to the masses. Also, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment and hit the bell and subscribe button. Let my voice be your voice and let them know you want to keep America tactical, because the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed wasn't a suggestion, it was a directive. Also, if you're wondering where to purchase your AR-15s are essential, I will not comply. I am the militia. I lost all my guns in a boating accident, and your state-specific Keep America Tactical shirt, click the link next to my head or the link in the description section, or if you're watching this on a mobile device, tap the small triangle on the lower right-hand side of this video and click the link in the description.